Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Thanks for joining us in this episode of SRE Practitioner Series. We are at episode number 23. I'm your host, Suresh GP. We interview site reliability engineering practitioners who bring in real world experiences of turning things into better reliability and also not just having success stories, but also horror stories of things that they have gone through, a lot of scars, and want to make sure that this community does not have problems later. So, with no further ado, I'm very excited to have Spiros Economakis join us from Greece. He's the CEO and founder of Nofire AI. Thank you so much, Spiros, for taking time today with our viewers and sharing your perspectives around site reliability engineering. But let's get things started. Um, what's been a journey on SRE? When were you exposed to the world of site reliability engineering, and what made you to start Nofire AI? Give us a little bit of background on experience around the reliability journey.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, Suresh, thanks for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here, and I hope everyone is gonna enjoy. Just back to how I started. I've been in multiple different roles. I started as an engineer. Then I moved to the new trends of mobile engineer. Through the mobile engineer, I realized that I like a lot of the automation part. So I started, slightly touching the DevOps culture, creating CI/CD practice and so on. And while I was expanding my skill set, I was going deeper to the reliability, why things are breaking, for these services, how we can create better alerts, how we can understand better the production environment. And this is where actually, I joined Lenses a couple of years ago, where we built, the first SaaS and Lenses Cloud. And from that, it's like 8 years ago, if I'm not wrong. So from that point, I'm only, working with, SRE teams, engineering teams, building SaaS products, cloud environments. And, it's a very nice journey. It's a hard journey, as you can understand.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of firefighting,
Correct.
but exciting times, I learned a lot through this, through this time. I created some, nice teams. So back to, why we build on fire is, especially in Mattermost when I was previously, in Mattermost Cloud, and Chris, who also my co-founder, who was Elastic Cloud, right? We were tired of firefighting. Imagine that in Mattermost we were working together, right? So we're tired of debugging, the same cascading failures at 3 a.m. Tired of watching, the engineers struggle or new designers, because only a few people or a group of people understood the system. Even if we had a very good practice, we had postmortem, we had everything. And we were tired of tools, to show only what broke. It's like, yeah, this is broken. And we're just taking dashboards or metrics without really understanding sometimes, why things are failing or what is the reason why and what is coming next. Because sometimes just, something triggers and something cascades, along the different kind of services. So we kept adding observability layers in practice and data, hoping that the next data or the next dashboard would finally show why things broke, right? And specifically, we had an incident back then, just to keep this short, the story short is we had the incident we were calling this Pina Colada incident. Honestly, the whole team was in Barbados. I had just came back in from paternity leave. I had no clue what was in the production. I was alone in Europe doing the on call, and suddenly, at 6 p.m. US, Greek time, but US time morning,
Right.
everything starts thundering, alerts everywhere, CPU spikes,
Wow.
database is going down in a multi-tenant environment, right? So it was very hard to identify at that point what was the change for me because I was out. That was the first thing. I just came in and had no idea what has changed. So it took us, overall to find a configuration change for 2 weeks.
Right.
And in practice, we fixed it, we iterated. 2 months later, it happened again because someone didn't know about this change. Someone didn't know about this config. So someone touched it. Even we had good, code reviews. Still, someone just slipped it over, right? And just went to production again. So from that point, me and Chris were like, okay, we need to fix this. We need to find a way, to make it better. And this is where, where AI came in, all the ideas, today we see, and we decided, okay, let's start doing, a platform which makes reliability not being an afterthought, and, be proactive in practice.
Correct. Awesome. Excellent. So, in your experience, and you lovely portrayed about this firefighting, people just get swarmed into major incident calls time and again. They don't have a assurance. Every time a major incident happens, the business leader says, "What's the guarantee that it will not happen again?" You say you do a root cause analysis, and we hope and pray nothing will break again. But it's just hope and pray. There's nothing much you can do about it. So, in your opinion, Spiros, why do teams still spend so much time firefighting? Where is the real big problem? Because they have knowledge base, they have cookbooks, they have playbooks, all of those stuff is there, but still, where is the problem that they are still banking their head on firefighting?
Definitely, yeah, that's a great point, Suresh. Actually, you hit exactly what every team faces out there. I'll tell you, when uptime is going, is being a problem, and SLA is, becoming, a problem in the company. What we do, right? We add more processes, we add production readiness reviews, we do the postmortems, we do the RSAs. Let's send this to the customer. But all this information, right, stays there. It's like there is a Confluent page or something, somewhere. This information is just there, which you can revisit. But the question is, do you remember that this information is there?
Right.
When you do an incident, do you have this knowledge back, right? And the other thing, through the years, I found, we have broken ownership, right? If you think about, we love saying you build it, you own it, but to be honest, that only works when you actually have the context, the
Correct.
control,
Correct.
right, and the time to own it, right? And we did, if you remember, go back to the Pina Colada incident, right? We did all the right things.
Correct.
We did production readiness reviews, ownership docs, we did everything. But we were just adding, some more rules around the same problem.
Yeah.
The knowledge still wasn't, where decisions were made, right? And this is about, here's what happens, actually when ownership breaks, right? Responsibility, control, and knowledge in practice,
Yeah.
they drift apart. It's this triangle which I'm saying all the time. I shared recently in LinkedIn that triangle, accountability, mandate, and knowledge, right? So suddenly the people accountable, aren't the ones with the information. So you are on call, you have no idea what is in production because someone else deployed something, right? So they are responsible for something they can't even understand or they can't even see sometimes, right? And there is also the mandate, right? The power to make decisions. So everything engineering org says that these teams is gonna own this service, but ownership by mandate alone doesn't mean that team actually knows how it behaves in production because there is an infrastructure. There are external dependencies. You have no idea how they're going to actually behave, right? And it's the knowledge which I told you, the last thing, and the accountability, because we love assigning the things, but it's useless without context, right? Okay, you're going to be right now you build your unit, the alerts, you're going to build your infrastructure. We have the platform engineering, everything is perfect, but still we are not understanding. And this is, what broken ownership looks like. A triangle, which is, mandate, knowledge, accountability, but it's whole cracked.
Correct.
Uh, and this is amplified right now with the vibe coding because, vibe coding is great, right? Don't get me wrong, we do also vibe coding internally, right? But right now, it's not about really owning the code. We produce code faster than we were doing before. So we don't really sometimes understand because right now we're becoming kind of reviewers of the code,
Right.
right?
Right.
So this ownership starts drifting more. So the software, which is right now in the code, which is in production, is kind of unknown. So code infrastructure changes really fast. So ownership and knowledge do not move at the same speed.
Correct.
And still our tools, what they say, what is broken, but not why it is broken.
Correct.
So
Correct.
until we fix that reasoning and ownership gap, I think we will keep seeing, the same pattern, and more tools, more war rooms, the same thing. I think we are in the right path at this moment. We see lots of companies trying to tackle the problem.
Awesome. I think it's rightly said about the whole part. People don't understand the context. They don't know how to connect the dots. There's all information in bits and pieces. It's completely broken. You don't look at this at the entire end-to-end value stream. So from that particular perspective, what does proactive reliability really mean? Because we all talk about reactive to proactive to predictive. I mean, we did incident management for a long period of time. We are continuing to do that part. We butchered in terms of response time, resolution time. We improved our MTTD. We looked at detecting the whole thing. We think that we will be able to have a faster mean time to repair. But in your opinion, what does proactive reliability mean? I mean, at one end, we don't even think about reliability. Reliability is an afterthought. But if I need to think about proactive reliability, considering a green field, what does that look like?
That's a great point, Suresh. For me, proactive reliability means exactly what you said. You don't wait for the production to start screaming, I have a problem, I have a problem, right? So you need to care before of that, right? So in the traditional way of working, we deploy and sometimes we don't understand as we discussed, and we hope that nothing is going to break, right? Because imagine, also in the enterprise companies, there are so many different kind of departments deploying every minute sometimes, right? Different kind of things. So you have no idea what's going on. So if something breaks, as we discussed, we add more policies, new alerts, new processes. So reliability is an afterthought because it comes after a bad incident or an SLA breach. So for me, proactive reliability is exactly the opposite, right? You think about reliability before even merge, before even you deploy, not only after, right? So when you code, especially with the coding agents today, you can just go and understand what is the risk of this change, which services and users will impact,
Right.
or have we seen this problem in the past, which can right now is going to break again.
Right.
So you use the past incidents, the production behavior, the cause and effect relationship as an input to design, code, and review, right? And we are on this era, right? We have the coding agents. We build production knowledge on a side right now. Different kinds of companies trying to do this to influence these coding agents. So right now, reliability is not an afterthought, right? As we discussed, the vibe coding plays a big role here. So you need, with AI and better data in a structured form, in the end, you can actually model these cause and effect relationships in production, which services depend on which, not only which change in your code or in your infrastructure or in your external dependency, will give you more context or which patterns led to past incidents. So right now, I think we can connect, incident history, postmortems, runbooks, telemetry into a structure like, knowledge graph, causal graphs, however we want to call it, to surface this knowledge, but during the development, right? When
Right.
I'm doing the code, so when I'm doing actually the database schema or I'm adding an index, and we have seen this in the past. Right now, the coding agent gets this knowledge from a production memory, right, or a production knowledge, like what we do in a fire, just to give you the information that this has been happened again, or right now there is an incident, there is a problem. There's if you do this and merge it, you're gonna have a cascade effect,
Right.
or another team deployed today, so that there is a high risk because the change depends with your change. So proactively right now, while we code, right, we are start thinking reliability by coding agents influence this because let's be honest, vibe coding as we discussed is a big chunk of it. So how we can make this knowledge available to the coding agents to do the right decisioning and be also the ones who are human leading the change, who understand what we do
Right.
exactly. So this is proactive is not just better monitoring. This is what I want to say. It's using production knowledge ahead of time so you can prevent incidents, or at least let's be honest, make them much more controlled.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense to do that. So, and with all this AI coming into picture, what's the real role of AI? Because at one end, I have a site reliability engineer. My role is to build reliable systems and software, but I'm wanting to leverage AI to make my life a lot more easier. And what do you think is the real role of AI and where it should be used and what it is not?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, I see AI as a way, to amplify human expertise, right? not replace the people, not gonna do automated things. Maybe at some point it's gonna happen, but we're not even close, there yet, right?
Correct.
The real job of AI, at least, for SREs, I would say is to help them understand the production faster, right? How you can connect the different kind of alerts, how you can connect the different kind of telemetry data, how you can connect the different kind of changes into a clear story and a narrative, right? So make this hidden knowledge accessible to everyone, not just to the most senior engineers. I have seen these things. This guy is missing, and nobody knows what's going on. Right? So bring the context into the places where people are working. What I mean is like in the incident channels, where how can I get this information during an incident? In my IDE, in these coding agents, how can I influence my code, right? In when I'm writing a ticket, for example, right? When I'm writing a ticket and I'm doing a capacity planning, how an agent can get this information and give me, oh, this is a patterns happened in the past, right? So for me, it's causal understanding overall and knowledge, which make this, AI amplify the human expertise and skill set. And it's not a magic button, right? That will auto fix production with no human in the loop. You still need these people because they know the production even more than anyone else, right? So they can understand a few more things, even in business context. So it's not an excuse to stop understanding, your own system by using AI. You need still to have these capabilities, and it's not be a black box that throws suggestions you cannot explain. How you are gonna trust something which just give you a text, go and do this. Why? Right? So AI, in the end of the day, at least for reliability in general, will be still human led, even this is proactive or reactive.
Yeah.
So the most important skill to the people is, calm judgment. What we do, for example, in Fire, we give a lot of things, how has been iterated, the confidence levels, how accurate is this. So you get all this information upfront to understand, okay, what we give you is a very high accurate, right? Versus just something which is, hallucinated, right?
Yeah.
And the most valuable system is not, you know, the one that never fails, right? It's the one you understand well enough to recover gracefully. And
Correct.
right now, do it much faster. So AI should help us reach that understanding faster. If AI makes things more confusing, then it's the wrong AI to use, right? So this is how we see it internally, right? And this this has been progressed a lot with the multi-agenting and all these things because right now we understand intent, what the alert is, or what the people want, but it's not enough just to throw data, right? You need to do that typical traditional old ways of statistical analysis, identify patterns and so on. So it's not just magic.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. That's very well portrayed in terms of how AI role would be. It will amplify the human experience. It will make a life a lot more easier, and it will also bring that knowledge towards the larger part of the organization. It's not going to be person dependent. So you're not relying on the Superman or Superwoman in that particular company. It kind of the knowledge
Exactly.
will be democratized across this whole value chain, precisely to work through it. Now, the other aspect is around observability. A lot of people think that, oh, we have these tools in place that will move from monitoring to observability. What are the things people go wrong because they didn't have some of the fundamentals in place before they went into observability? So, what's your take on, is observability going to make your life a lot more easier because with so much tools in place, or are there any kind of prerequisites or steps that people have to do before they go into observability engineering?
That's a very great point, Suresh, right? What we do a lot, with customers and prospects, if you have noise, already noise, if you have bad reliability practices, what's the point to go and use another tool which is going to add more noise? Right? So I think what we see also as a pattern, right? First of all, open telemetry, has been widely started adopting, which it's very, that's great because we have a standardized protocol right now in telemetry, right, to be able to utilize across different things. But what we see is people they still have false positives, right? They still have this muted alert because I don't hear this muted alert. We do this in Mattermost too, right? We had this alert which actually was just muted. It was like page, oh, I know what is this, just hack. That's it, and you just keep it, right? So I think, in my view, is observability is nice. You need to do this in a proper way and keep the right data because with the progression of AI, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but we may see observability to start becoming just a data store with these intelligence layers on top of it,
Mm.
right? Because right now, if you think about it, building this knowledge, right, from the telemetry, from the alerts, from everything, you can even create right now, ad hoc dashboards or ad hoc alerts or influence how to do alerts, right? And still, these are raw material, right? It's not understanding, so you need this intelligence layer. So it's unclear where the observability is going to land in the end. You definitely need to polish what you have in terms of do I care more about customer experience or do I care just about a node which just flipped and killed down? I don't think we should care about it. We should care about is checkout working? Does the customer feel the pain? Very few people do this, even big enterprises. So there are two different aspects, right? The one is about is going to be observability just a data store and an intelligence layer where observability is hidden. Unclear, honestly, but we see this pattern that data lakes, query these data lakes and this production knowledge, and make it a layer which works along with this data store. And we see also the other how the people can fix all these reliability forgotten aspects about a customer experience first, right? That's the other thing. So that I think that's the two aspects which I see. AI can help on this. We don't know what will be the future, honestly. It's gonna these tools like us become the next observability. It's also possible if you think about it, right? If you just have this data layer with all the insights from all the telemetry and all knowledge, not only telemetry things, but past incidents, business, Jira tickets, whatever, right? So it's kind of unclear. The only thing which I can tell you is like we don't need more data. I think we need to understand first, right? We need systems that help us reason on this data. So it's kind of unclear in if observability becomes just a storage layer or something. The real moves, seems to be in this intelligent layer. It's going to be on top. It's going to be something completely new. There are a lot of efforts in the industry around this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about one of the important part of production memory, right? So if you look at this people, like for example, Spiros has been a lead infrastructure engineer. He knows about all the problems that happen. So you have got something on as a production memory in your head. But Suresh, who's joined newly as on the board as a rookie, doesn't know about this knowledge. So how do you build the production memory inside your organization? How do you kind of replicate that knowledge and experience, what I call as the wisdom of production, that you
Yeah.
gained by doing all of those mishaps and costly mistakes that you did? How do you bring that to reality? How do you make that as a cultural change where people understand production would be across this whole organization? So what is kind of the way that we can build that production memory inside the organization?
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Again, I think you mentioned the right thing. It's all about culture in the end of the day, right? The tools can assist, AI can reason, you can use this knowledge, but reliability is built on shared ownership, as we discussed, right? So a culture where SREs enable, developers' own outcomes, and everyone shares the same understanding, I think is what we will see next, right? And we like to say, as I told you, you build it, you
Cool.
own it. In my view, with this production, right, knowledge, with mandate, knowledge, and accountability, which is this is trust, right? I think we are moving to you build it, you understand it,
Mm.
right? So every incident, every production pattern in your cluster, in your services, every fix, which you do, automatically becomes things about. I have an image in my presentations. I do, in the conferences, a shared runbook, right? Where dev and SREs, keep this shared runbook together,
Right.
and in the end, this mandate, knowledge, and accountability we discussed come together, right? How you do this, you need to do it, understand the production. So you have, an agent or something which continuously, monitors and understands how your production works. You have, the past history, how you can get this information and connect this information with a production behavior. You have metrics, you have telemetry, right? You have golden signals. How this information can become, again, a production knowledge. So when this new person is coming in, it's like, what is the architecture of this environment? Where the things running? It's a simple question, right? Where my service is running? That simple question. Or what is the resources of this, this environment, right? Or what is the trends of the last 1 month? So you understand easily what means, what is the understanding and way of your production. And if you do this well, have this production memory, which can also do risk assessment as we discussed proactively and influence coding agents. I think you have engineers can join really fast, right? I'm a new engineer. I'm just writing the code about an order service or a checkout service. I can immediately understand, oh, there is a checkout, there is a payment. If I do something on here, there's going to be a cascade effect on this stuff, right? Or all this has changed. Right now, there's the checkout version 2. I'm not going to use the old one. I'm going to use the new one. A lot of things like that, if you think about it, right? So you make this a living memory which continues to learn, by what the people do, what the past history says, and what your production does.
Right.
Again, even if you have this knowledge without the culture of reliability, right, being, in your DNA, still is going to be, we're going to do empty work, right? So that's not just, reliability, it's trust also to this production knowledge. And remember, the reliability is always there. That's why, we believe also, influencing, coding agents for SRE side, for engineering side, through reliability starts becoming a more real, reliability on very early on process, right? That's that change we see. That's in a high level, Suresh, in my view.
Awesome. And finally, the question is, what advice would you give to engineers who want to stop firefighting and start building a reliability culture? Because when I work with a lot of CXOs and leaders, they ask us, how do I build a reliability culture? Because everybody loves firefighting. They fix this incident and the same incident happens. I mean, because in incident management, you can give a workaround, and the next time this happens, then you say, what these guys are doing, they have no idea. They send a transaction survey and then says, how did I do? It's a great job. But it's a workaround. So the next time that again happens and says, oh, these are a bunch of jokers. They have no idea, but they fix the same issue again and again. So how do you what advice would you do to stop firefighting and build a reliability culture?
Yeah, that's a great point. I see, like 4 or 5 pillars I have in mind, right? The first is about, first of all, you need to start small, right? With one service. Don't try to fix reliability for everything, right? So you need to have this golden paradigm, right? That this is the golden paradigm, which is you're gonna clean up alert, you're gonna create, the proper SLOs, the customer experience alerts versus everything. So the next bullet, which is, a consequence of this, is like reduce the noise first. So you cannot build a culture of reliability, if people don't trust the alerts, right? Make sure that every alert, based on what we discussed on this service, right, it's actionable, it's really owned, right, and it's tied to a user or business impact where possible. What I mean, the checkout will never be down, or it's going to be very small down, or I'm going to catch early because my SLO alerts, they care about customer experience. They don't care about, I know it's just drained or just killed or it's down or a pod is rotating. And the other thing is, we are saying this, treat every incident as a learning opportunity, because right now we have AI. As long as we have this learning opportunity, right, and we create the right history, what did we learn about the system, how we make sure the next engineers benefits from this, and update, your production memory, even statically for now, not only your metrics, or add more data or more alerts, right? So this is where you bring reliability into daily work. Reliability culture is not just SRE or the ops team, right? Product managers should understand why it's important to have these, reliability alerts, for example, right? Developers seeking right now for their changes because they believe that's going to affect the customer experience. So
Right.
it's not only engineers thing. I think it's a more wide thing. The product manager of the business understand. So the leadership giving the time for resilience work, not just features, because in the end, you are losing revenue, right? If you have enough time, if you have SLA breaches. And as you have built all what we've discussed right now, this is where AI come into place. That's the fifth bullet, right? How you can use AI, you know, and tools as support to amplify the humans, not as a crutch, right? So this is where you get all this knowledge we discussed right now and hook it in your AI so you can start influence proactively all this reliability really early on. So if you do start doing these things slowly and consistently, you notice something which you still have incidents. Don't get me wrong. You still have incidents. You still have to firefight,
Sure.
but it will feel less chaotic, right? People feel less alone in the on-call because they have this knowledge right now. And over time, you really do fight, fewer fires because in practice, you understand your system much, much, much better than before.
Correct.
So that's the whole idea. This is how, honestly, what I told you is like kind of a playbook till the fourth bullet. It's kind of a playbook. I tried in every company I went. Just there is a fifth bullet, which is the AI thing right now.
It adds to that whole pillars, but I think the lovely to look at four pillars and adding AI to help you to amplify the human experience and making sure that reliability culture is part. It's also the mindset in terms of thinking, people thinking that, well, there has to be a better way to do things, right? There is toil. There's so much
Exactly.
work that is being done, which is not adding things. I should be doing something which is more intelligent part of it, and the rest of the
Exciting.
AI
Yeah.
to do it, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's common sense because we are so much in the trenches, we don't have think tank time to think what's the most important part that we need to work. And it's making that paradigm shift towards thinking that you should not be doing these things. You should be thinking the focus on customer experience, focusing on more value-added activities, and the remaining
Exactly.
ones should be able to handle by its own. So excellent aspect and fantastic kind of conversations, Pyros. We can keep on talking about, but we are coming to the end of the episode. So tell us, how can people reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out to bounce ideas and ask some of those questions about reliability? How can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, of course. Just you can reach me out there, in my LinkedIn profile. You can reach me out, in Twitter. It's very easy, to send me messages. I reply to everything.
Right.
And you can find me also to the reliability engineering stuff, like, newsletter, which I'm writing a lot of stuff about, practical things as an SRE. So yeah, that's this is where you can find me.
Awesome. And as you see, is very passionate about stopping the firefighting. Probably as SREs, you should look at subscribing him to his reliability newsletter. And it's a lot more fun when you work with practitioners who are solving real world problems. And go and have a look at nofire.ai because you might want to douse the fire and make things a lot more easier. And remember, our goal is to make reliability as a first class citizen. So let's do everything to make that happen. And thank you
Exactly.
so much for your time today. And I hope that our customers, our partners, as well as the entire community will get benefited out of what you talked about. Thank you so much, Spiros.
Thanks, Chris.